Okay, good morning and welcome to our Genesis Client Services webinar. My name's Amber Neely. I'm a counselor here at Genesis. I'm joined with my colleagues, Charlotte Weatherford and Jordan Gates. Here's Charlotte.
Good morning.
Jordan can say hi.
Good morning.
Okay, before we jump into our topic today, I'm going to just go through some housekeeping items, okay? So first thing to remember is that this presentation is for educational purposes only. And so also consider your safety and your situation before putting into practice any of these ideas. We're really giving a lot of general information, and we know that each situation is unique and different, and so just be considerate of your own situation. Okay, so let's talk about safety. So please be sure to watch this webinar in a safe place where only safe people can hear you. So that might mean that you're wearing some headphones. If you have any concerns that somebody might be going through your phone or your computer, clear your browser history after you finish this webinar. And then if you need to leave, if you're watching live with us on Zoom and you need to leave abruptly, you'll need to click end a couple of times, and then you'll still have to go back in and X out of the Zoom page in your browser. As far as confidentiality, again, if you're watching with us live on Zoom, please do not use the chat feature. If you do use that chat feature, your name and comment will be seen by anybody who's watching the live video or the video recording that we are going to be uploading on our YouTube channel. Also with our YouTube channel, comments should be disabled, but if there's an off chance that they're not, please, again, don't leave any comments on that YouTube channel because anyone who watches will have access to your name and information. If you're needing support with any of the information we're sharing today, or just in general, or you're in crisis, or you need help with emergency safety planning, or you're needing shelter due to domestic violence, please call our 24-hour hotline at 214-946-4357. If you are not a current client of ours and you're interested in counseling for domestic violence, please give us a call at 214-389-7700. If you have any questions about anything that we're talking about today or in any of the other webinars that we have on YouTube, we're going to leave our contact information at the end of this presentation. So you'll have access to that and you can call us directly with any questions. Again, we don't monitor any comments or questions left on the YouTube video recordings. So you'll just have to reach out to us directly and we'll be happy to support you. Again, we just want to share some hotlines. So again, our Genesis hotline is there. We also have the National Domestic Violence Hotline. So if you're not here in Dallas and you're watching and maybe you're not local, this national hotline can help you find resources in your neighborhood based on your zip code. And then we also know that during times of crisis and trauma, that suicidal thoughts or thoughts about self-harm can come up. We want you to be safe, and so we want you to have this number for the National Suicide Hotline. If you're having any thoughts like that coming up, please feel free to reach out to us, or you can reach out to the National Hotline. Okay, so we're going to jump into our topic. So we've been going through this ARC book. It's Attachment, Regulation, and Competency, and we've been looking at some strategies in this book. Before we jump into the strategies, I, of course, want to just go over some definitions and just talk about what we do here at Genesis. So at Genesis, we're specifically working with women and children who've been impacted by domestic violence. And we're talking about specifically intimate partner violence, right? And that occurs when one person uses abusive tactics, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, physical or sexual abuse, with the goal of maintaining power and control over the other person in that relationship. And so this can really impact the family system as well as children. And so when we're putting together these strategies, our goal is to really help you to support your children who have been exposed to domestic violence in their homes. We know that domestic violence can be really traumatizing. And so just want to review what trauma is, right? Trauma refers to experiences that are overwhelming and may leave someone feeling helpless, vulnerable, or very frightened. Um, Trauma includes like events like car accidents or natural disasters, earthquakes, and trauma also includes ongoing stressors such as family violence. Children can be really deeply affected by other ongoing stressors such as poverty, racism, bullying, or discrimination. And so just wanting to keep all of that in mind as we're specifically talking about family violence here, right? But we also want to keep in mind that there are other things that could be happening in your family system that are impacting your child. And so as we move through these, Charlotte's going to start or no, I'm going to do this one. Whoops. Okay. As we move through these, we're going to give you a lot of tools and examples that you can do to help your child. And we're talking about modulation and regulation today. This is a word that we use a lot in the clinical world. We're always talking about self-regulation and regulating your emotions and feelings, right? And so the goal of regulation, what this means is that it's the capacity to tolerate intense emotions. So that's either positive or negative emotions. So for some kiddos and adults that experience trauma, it can be really difficult for them to tolerate any sort of intense emotions. And so they might have some avoidance strategies that they use in order to avoid those emotions. When we're talking about modulation, where modulation is helping manage the intensity of an emotional experience. It's helping to change how intense that feels. There are so many ways that you can support your child or teen with regulation, which is also known as bringing energy and feelings to a comfortable and effective level. Some of these activities can be used in moments of distress, but many may be helpful just to build into daily routines. And so remember also, every child is different. We're gonna give you a lot of examples today of things that you can do, and every kiddo is different. And so just keep that in mind. It might mean that you're experimenting with different strategies. I think something that's going to be really important to keep in mind is routine, right? Try to build some of this into your daily routine. Consistency is going to be really, really helpful for helping a child increase their ability to stay regulated and to learn skills that are going to help them for the future. So now I'll let Charlotte take over.
Hey everyone. So like Amber was saying, we want to give y'all a lot of different options to use for a regulation toolbox, what we're going to call it. So basically just some established modulation and regulation skills that you can incorporate into your routine so your child has opportunities for modulation and regulation throughout the day. But also helping them to develop these skills so that when maybe they are experiencing some increased or overwhelming emotion, they'll have some additional tools that they can use to help regulate and self-soothe. So some ongoing activities that can be incorporated into your routine, making sure that your child has playtime. This is going to be both alone and together. Some quiet time that they can just have some individual play is really helpful, and also play with you as the parent. Sports and exercise. This is a great way to get out some of that energy and some of this kind of built up, pent up energy that kids might have throughout the day. Expressive arts, dance, and theater is another way for them to have some opportunity for some regulation. Yoga is really great. Reading, listening to music are all things that can be incorporated into a daily routine. And finding some other ways to soothe your child, like some sensory activities. So this might just look really simple, like a container box of rice and beans with some different toys and things that they can pour the rice and beans back and forth. This might look like a water tray or a water table, slime, Play-Doh, anything that they can kind of touch and feel with their hands. Gross motor activities, anything that's going to be really physical and get all of their big muscles moving, can be really helpful and really soothing. A dedicated calming space. This can be a really helpful tool for a child at any age. I actually have heard of some clients making even like a closet space as like a designated space. Like maybe you have an extra hall closet or something that you're not using, and you can string up little lights and put their favorite stuffed animals and favorite books, or earphones, things like that, that they can use in their own little dedicated calming space. For a teen, that might just be their room, and making their room really comforting and a calming place for them. Opportunities for engagement and connection are really soothing too. So whether that's just one-on-one connection or connecting at family dinners, but having those opportunities can be really soothing as well. So developing creative daily routines and rhythms. So routines, although they are very structured, are more about the rhythm and providing predictable moments that build safety, skill, and support. So it's not necessarily about the rigidity, it's more about creating a rhythm, something that you just kind of know that after lunch, you roll into the next activity, and kids start to become more attuned to this rhythm of the day and how the day is gonna go. Routines should decrease rather than increase distress. So if the routines are making things harder, then maybe look at what your routine is, and maybe it needs to be adjusted a little bit to make it less stressful. It should be making life less stressful for you. Use routines to target challenge points. So especially with kiddos, like getting their teeth brushed and they're getting dressed for school for the day, homework, chores, things that might be challenging areas for your child. Routines can be really helpful. It's just a part of their daily routine to brush their teeth, put their plate away, do their homework. Provide natural soothing opportunities at bedtime, playtime, and bath time. So at some of these more challenging times of the day, or might be times when you want to incorporate some of these more soothing opportunities. So maybe that means playing really soothing, calming music when you're playing, giving a bath, or maybe that means using some of that lavender bath soap that smells so nice and then it's soothing for them. Provide engagement and connection points, such as check-ins, asking about the day, and solving problems together. So really depending on the age of your child, you might just want to check in throughout the day. How are you doing? If you notice that maybe they're having a problem or trying to make a decision, you can help support them in that. So be a detective. Learn how to read your child or teen's patterns. Y'all are the expert in your own children. No one knows your children the way that you do. So just kind of paying attention and noticing what sorts of activities or experiences lead to feelings or energy that seem more or less organized or in control. So do you notice that at certain times of the day, your child seems really dysregulated, out of control? It's really hard to get them to focus on the next task. Maybe this is, there's a trigger there. There's an experience there that's leading your child to feel out of control, and maybe you can identify that and adjust that in the routine. How do you know your child or teen is comfortable or uncomfortable in his or her body and with his or her feelings? What are the clues? So maybe you notice this, maybe your child just shuts down and they don't want to talk anymore. Maybe you notice this in their body language, their head's hanging down. Maybe you notice that your child, when they're really uncomfortable in their body, they get really fidgety. Or maybe you notice that they get really irritable. So what are your child's clues when you realize that something's going on and they're uncomfortable with some feelings that they're having? What patterns of strength and challenge does your child or teen show? When does your child or teen do best and worst? Target soothing routines for the challenging times. So just, again, paying close attention to what times of the day and what experiences seem to be challenging for your child, and incorporate those soothing activities at those times. And actively track these clues each time your child or teen has a hard time. This is just going to help build your understanding and help better inform the routine that's going to best work for your family. So some modulation activities, again, this is going to help to decrease the intensity of an emotion. A lot of these are going to be similar to some of the regulation activities: play, sports, expressive arts, yoga, reading, listening to music, crafts. Some of these activities will give them some opportunities to sort of get in touch with themselves, center, and calm down a little bit. Sensory strategies can be really helpful as well. So with sound, listening to music, using headphones, or noise machines to drown out noise. A lot of children tend to be triggered by really loud sound or a lot of sound and can become overstimulated. So having something to help drown that out could be really helpful. Touch, providing hugs, weighted blankets, stuffed animals, cool stones that they can hold in their hands, things to fidget with, chewable jewelry, things that they can are tactile that they can touch and feel can be really soothing for a child. Smell, providing lotions, essential oils, air fresheners. Maybe your child really likes to bake and they want to smell the scent of warm cookies. That can be soothing. Taste, just sharing your favorite food and slowly, mindfully eating your favorite snack. And sight, providing pictures of safe people and favorite places, minimize visual stimulation. So maybe just if they seem to be overstimulated visually, then giving them a space to kind of maybe just listen to something or just smell something or just play with some Play-Doh and take away that visual stimulation. Or you can provide some opportunities for visual imagery or pictures that are really soothing to your child. A few more, so some gross motor opportunities, small trampolines, opportunities, any opportunity to run, jump, play, exercise balls. Kiddos can really like to sit on those and bounce, balance beams, after school dance parties. Create a dedicated comfort zone, just kind of like that calming space I was talking about, a safe place for just them when they want to have some alone time. Fill it with materials that are really comforting and specific to your child, and have that child or teen practice using it when he or she is calm as well, not just when they're overwhelmed. All right, and I think Jordan's going to take over from here and start with some breathing activities.
Yes, thanks, Charlotte. I'm going to take over and just expand on some of the ideas that Charlotte has been sharing. So these are some different breathing exercises that you can do with your kiddos. Also important to remind your child or teen that deep breathing is the fastest way to send a message to the brain that everything's okay. So breathing is one of the fastest ways to help your child and as adults to help our bodies regulate. Some different ideas. The first one up there is deep breathing with movement and sounds. So earlier Amber was demonstrating this for me, but taking a deep breath and stretching your hands up in the air and have your child put their arms down, or take really deep breaths and allow them to release sound at the end. Are some good ideas. Another one is bubble breathing. So this just means using bubbles. And so just a little like tub of bubbles and have them practice taking deep breaths, and then also having them just be mindful and watching the bubbles float away, or maybe the kids pop the bubbles. Some pillow breathing. So this would be you have your child lay on their back and put a pillow on their stomach and have them take deep breaths and watch the pillow go up and down. And you can say, can you make the pillow go down slower or up faster? And so they can explore, their different breaths with that. You could also use a stuffed animal, which I've done before, or they could even, like the little boy in the picture has his hands on his stomach, but they could lay on their back and just put their hands on their belly and watch it go up and down. Another one is deep breathing with a straw. So they would just have to channel their breath into the straw, which is fun because it gives kids something fun to hold and do. And then breathing with imagery. And so this could be imagining that they're blowing out birthday candles or a dandelion. And so when they have that guided imagery, they can be mindful and also practice their deep breathing that way. So now we're going to move on to focus activities. Could y'all flip it over for me? Okay, thank you. So the first focus activity is called Focus Bell. So you would explain to the child that you will be ringing a bell. Ask your child to focus on the sensory experience of the sound. Encourage them to practice their breathing while listening to the bell sound. Encourage them to notice the change in sound as time passes. and say, raise your hand when you are no longer hearing the sound. So they can also hear, right, and notice how loud the bell is at first and how quiet it gets. Another one is a memory game. This one's fun for all ages, but ask your child or teen to be mindful of his or her environment and study all of the things in the room. So they study all the things in the room and then ask them to close their eyes. And they then ask them to recall an item in the room that is white. Or you can obviously modify by saying, you know, can you tell me about a toy you saw or something that was yellow? And place them in the middle of the table. So have the child or teen focus on the item then for 1 minute, then say close your eyes, and while you remove one item, the final step is to give the child or teen an opportunity then to also guess the item. So that's a fun game. And then the next one is grounding. And so Charlotte touched on this when she talked about different sensory items, but have the child tune into their senses using concrete, easy ways to hold stimuli. And so the importance of grounding, right, is it brings you to the present moment. And it's easy to, right, when we ground ourselves, we want to activate our senses. And so this could be through touch, right? And so through touch, through seeing, through smell, different ideas. So like in my office, I have a grounding coping skills box that's filled with stress balls, squishy things, some lavender lotion. Some other ideas that are listed are a piece of cloth that is really soft, glitter cream, magic wands, there's a picture on that, magic rocks, worry stones, so something soothing for them to rub, even kinetic sand or Play-Doh, a small stuffed animal, but you can get really creative and kind of alter it to whatever your children are interested in. And it's an easy way too, if your child is dysregulated or really frustrated or even really hyper, to encourage them, go use your grounding materials, go use your coping skills box. You can come up with a fun name for it and they can go take that time to unwind. I know a lot of teachers too are also implementing those ideas in their classrooms. So a lot of kids are already used to those things. And then we're gonna move on to movement activities or games. So like Charlotte was talking, movement activities are so important for kids. It helps their bodies regulate, it helps them get out some energy. And so these are just some different ideas. The dice game, so the goal is to practice deep breathing or light movement during this game. So you roll the dice, then you choose a movement for you and the child or teen to sustain while you count the number that was indicated on the dice. So for example, roll your shoulders back to the count of 10, because that's how many you rolled. Or wiggle your nose to the count of 7. And you can even, to tailor it to your child and have them be more engaged, you can say, you know, you pick the movement that you want to do and you roll the dice and then you do it together. The next one is stretching. So this is, you know, a pretty obvious one, but just lead the child or teen into some gentle movement and stretches. You could play some light music doing this. You could alternate, you pick a stretch and then your child picks a stretch. You could even create this into a daily routine, right? You do it in the morning, in the evening. It just has to be for a few minutes. So that's an easy one. The next one is Simon Says. I use this one all the time. If you don't know what Simon Says is that you, there's a leader and the leader is called Simon, and then the followers. And so the follower is to follow the leader's actions, but only when the leader says Simon Says. And most kids play this in school, and so they get really excited about it. But it would be Simon says, you know, touch your nose. Simon says, stretch really tall. So you can even incorporate some of those relaxation activities into Simon Says. Simon says, take a really long, deep breath. And so that's a fun activity, and it's kind of a competition, so kids like it. The next one is the song Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes. And so that's a really fun one for toddlers or younger elementary age children, to expose them to music and movement. And that's a song too that you could look up on YouTube and create fun dances too. And lastly, some different activities, music activities. So the first one, relaxation with music. And again, if you just YouTube like relaxing music for kids, they even have like really slow moving like imagery that will pass through. And so you can look up songs on YouTube or whatever type of music you use. And so just play some relaxing musics and have children listen to it and teens and be mindful of it while they kind of breathe to the music. You could also have them lay down in one of their favorite spots or relaxing spot, and have them do it. The next one, you've got the beat, and so you create music together. So you can use this through clapping your hands, using different parts of your body, and take turns being the leader or the creator of the beat, and then the rest will follow the leader. And so that's really fun for kids too, especially when they get to create the music themselves, which is awesome. And then the last one, musical instruments. And so this could be more difficult if you don't have musical instruments at home, but you could use, right, they could create music with different instruments. And so gather several types of musical instruments and demonstrate the sound of each. And then close your eyes or turn your back if comfortable and ask the child then to identify the type of music. And so to alter this, if you didn't have musical instruments at home, you could also, play YouTube, like a guitar or a drum. And then the child could turn around, while you play this sound, and they could guess what it is. And again, that just keeps kids really grounded. Kids are already really drawn to music, and so it's a fun, easy game. And especially if you're doing it with your phone, if you don't have instruments, you could do it anywhere if you're trying to kill some time. So those are some fun ideas, and I'm going to let Amber take it over to close this out.
Thanks so much, Jordan. Those were some really great ideas. So we just wanted to end by just talking about supporting modulation. And so just a few tips. Consider a scenario in which your child's emotions escalate, right? And then we want you to try to focus on being attuned, right? So noticing the feeling and tune in with the energy, trying to keep yourself centered, right? So checking in with yourself. Sometimes when our child's behaviors are escalating, it can cause some anxiety within ourselves. And so really noticing what's coming up for you in those moments and how you can regulate your own body. Ask yourself, where is your child's energy? Where does it need to go? Are they too high or are they too low, right? So really trying to figure out where they're at. Reflect simply what you're seeing. I can see, buddy, that you're really mad. Let's see if we can calm down and a bit, and then we can talk, right? So just acknowledging their feelings, and that's really going to help them understand too. Sometimes they don't know how to label what they're feeling. Cue child in use of skills, right? So all of these skills that we've been talking about, the really important thing is to start incorporating these into your life before things are, going out of control or before they need them. So start practicing these coping skills, teaching them the breathing, the sitting quietly, the calm down ball, all of that, so that it's already like muscle memory. So then you can say, okay, buddy, I see you're getting really mad. Like, why don't we get your stress ball for you to squeeze that, or for you to throw that on the wall, or whatever you need to do. And then they're already going to have that skill. So it's going to feel more natural to them. Reinforce the use of modulation skills. So really letting them know, wow, I'm so proud of you for trying to calm down your energy. You're doing such a great job. I'm really proud of you. That's really, really hard to do. So really reinforcing that praise is going to really help motivate them to continue using these healthy skills. And then invite expression and communication when the child is calm. In the middle of a tantrum isn't going to be an optimal time to have like discussion and communication about what's going on. So when the child is calm, that might mean that we're talking about things later that night or the next morning, but inviting that expression and communication is really important. So I know we've given a lot of information today. We just want to say, like, showing up and watching these webinars and hearing this information, some of it is really hard to hear. It's a lot of information to figure out. Where does this fit in with your family? And we just want you to know that you're making such a huge step towards helping to support your child in such a difficult time for your family. And again, please reach out to us if there is anything that we can do to support you. during this time. You have our contact information here. So yes, please feel free to call us. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Now I can see